Hey everybody, welcome to another Distributed with TED Magazine podcast. I am Scott Costa, the publisher of TED Magazine. Thanks for joining us both on video and audio for this podcast. I talked to Alex Piwoschuk. Sorry about the name, Alex. For some reason, I have a mental block. I'm always botching it. I think I got it right that time. Alex is the director of electrical sales for Graybar. He's also one of the 2020 TED Magazine 30 under 35. I'm trying to get everybody to be introduced to them because we had a virtual conference this year, and some people know who they are, and certainly they were in the July issue of the magazine, but I want to learn more about them and share some of their thoughts with you. We had a great conversation. We talked about e-commerce and how he's doing business these days in his 5-state territory and just how he sees the future. So it was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. I think I had a great time talking to him, but I also first want to tell you about NAAD's Market Data Program. The program is a service where electrical distributors submit confidential, anonymous monthly point of sales data. Users are then able to see market values by region, product, or customer type. Users are only able to see the aggregated market data when there is enough data flowing into the system to maintain anonymity. The market data program just hit a milestone. It began displaying its first state data for Illinois, North Carolina, and Virginia. More data is expected soon as more distributors are distributing their data. You can find out more about the Market Data Program by heading over to naed.org/market-data. And now enjoy our podcast with Alex Piwoschuk. All right, Alex Piwoschuk, a name that I struggle with because I seem to mispronounce it all the time as hard as I'm trying, is joining us on the Distributed with TED Magazine podcast. Alex, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I apologize in advance. We're going to talk for 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to botch your name on the back end, but thanks for being a guest. I appreciate you joining me.
Scott, happy to be here, and you nailed it right out of the gates. So we're starting off on the right foot.
1 for 1. We'll see if I can go 2 for 2 or if I'm going to botch it at the back end. So we'll see how it goes. So, Alex, you are a TED Magazine 30 under 35 award winner for 2020. Congratulations. Give us an idea. What kind of feedback have you been getting? What have folks been talking to you about? You know, kind of how's that been working out for you so far?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah. First of all, that was something I was extremely proud and fortunate to be a part of, right? It came out of left field. I was extremely surprised and honored when I got the notification. And as you know, Scott, these types of awards don't happen on your own. You know, I'm fortunate to be able to work with an unbelievable team. I've had great mentors throughout my time in the industry and with Graybar especially. So it's been a lot of fun to be a part of. But I have received some feedback on that. It's been a lot of complimentary feedback, which I really appreciate. Also been a part of some ribbing as well. So it's been both ends of the spectrum, Scott. But either way, it's been a lot of fun.
I tell you what, the thing you got to tell them, there's only been 300 30 under 35 winners in the history of the whole association. There's 180 or 190,000, people, only 300 winners. You're one of a select few. So tell them if they're going to make fun of you, tell them take that. Here's the issue. If you haven't seen it yet, so go ahead, you can certainly grab it. And you talk about some other people that have worked with you, but let's not, sell your resume short as I put my glasses on again to look at it. You've been with Graybar since 2012, correct? And you've actually been promoted 3 times. Kind of take us through your progression. What's happened to you at Graybar? Again, I'm sure people have helped you because you've said it, but you've accomplished some things too. So tell me kind of what's the career path been like for you?
Sure, absolutely. I started with Graybar in 2012 and came into an inside sales role with us where I really got a chance to learn a lot about the industry and Graybar specifically. From there, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to grow into an outside sales role. Had some success with that and ended up taking a sales manager role. That kind of set me up for my current role that I took over January of this year as director of electrical sales. Graybar, as you know, Scott, is a huge believer of promoting from within. Mm-hmm. So I've been very, very fortunate to be one of those many examples and very, very excited for what I've learned and hopefully where I'm going to be able to go in the future as well.
And you also had the opportunity, you relocated for them also from Wisconsin to the Minneapolis area. Is that correct? Is that where you are now?
Correct, yeah. So relocated one time to eastern Wisconsin and then now moving back west to the Twin Cities area.
Right. And so give us an idea. You're coming to us today. You're in your home office. Of course, the pandemic hit us in March, give or take, early March. Give us an idea, sort of, what your work's been like. I'm assuming you were out of the office at least for a while, working from home, and now are you kind of hybriding it? Tell me, what's happening. Are you back and forth? What's going on with where you're working these days?
Yeah, exactly. So in the beginning part of the year, I was really kind of a road warrior. I'm tied to 5 states for us, so I was all over the place. And then of course March hits and the world comes to a screeching halt. Now, kind of settling into a nice little groove, working a little bit as almost like a hybrid program where I'm in the office, I'm also working remote, and doing some in-person meetings again as well. Really just trying to walk that fine line to make sure that the in-person meetings are business necessary. Gray Bar as a whole is kind of that similar model as well, Scott, where we have a lot of people working remote still. Of course, we do have numerous staff in our offices, just making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep people safe from distancing, PPE requirements, and all local guidelines as well.
I would assume that some of those in-person meetings too, there's got to be sort of a comfort level, just in terms of, them wanting you to be there. I mean, you certainly want to do everything you can to help out your customers and your partners, but, are you getting some feedback in terms of there are some folks who are just like, we're just not comfortable with having extra people in our locations? Is that one of the things you're running into?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a multitude of reasons, Scott. And when you look at a 5-state region, I don't care if that's here in the upper Midwest or anywhere, you're not going to get everybody feeling the same, right? So there's certain areas that have restrictions that are heavily enforced. There's certain areas that are much more open than others, and everything in between. But the biggest thing for us is first and foremost just what you touched on, making sure that we're not putting anybody, whether it's a Gray Bar employee, a partner, or a customer, at a position that they don't want to be in. And again, making sure that ultimately we're just trying to keep everybody safe, right? We're all in this together, doing the best we can to conduct business that needs to happen, but make sure that that nobody's going to get sick in the process.
So I'm assuming what you're doing in that region, that 5-state region of yours, is a lot of day trips. You'll drive out, but you're coming back home. You're spending the night at home again. Are you envisioning that, at least through the end of the year and beyond? Have you gotten any kind of feedback or guideline in terms of how that's going to play out?
Yeah, no, I do think that that's going to be kind of the game plan moving forward, at least through the end of the year. Have not been doing any air travel, just all hopping in the car and putting on the miles. But again, I think the big thing, Scott, is there's no 100% set plan. For me, it's really trying to make sure that, ultimately, if there's in-person business that needs to be conducted, and justified, I want to be there. I love being in front of people. I love being in the thick of it when I can. But again, just making sure that ultimately we're doing what we can to support the business, but also do things virtually and as safe as possible.
And so it's interesting too, because it's led to sort of a new, and this is again a big part of the 30 under 35 thing for me is, we knew changes were going to happen. I mean, we certainly knew that there was going to be, turnover in terms of, executive leadership. Some folks were, of a different generation, which is my nice way of saying getting older. We knew that, it's just customers' needs and wants and the way job sites are run were going to change dramatically. So we knew change was coming. It's come a little bit radically, over the past 6 or 7 months, obviously because of the pandemic. One that stands out to me that I'm hearing a lot about, that I've actually been like, I got to read about other things, but this e-commerce thing, I just keep getting stuff and I keep reading stuff about e-commerce. Give us an idea in terms of, how you're looking at e-commerce these days, and more importantly, I guess, is how are your customers looking at e-commerce these days, and what they are expecting of you, and how you can kind of mix that together so it works for everybody.
Absolutely. E-commerce is something that I personally am a huge believer in, and I think Gray Bar as a whole is a huge believer in. I actually had a chance, Scott, to listen to the podcast with Denise Keating, where you guys were talking about e-commerce, and I completely align and agree with a lot of the things that you guys touched on. So we've seen a continued uptick in our e-commerce business. We fortunately have invested in e-commerce for a number of years now, even prior to 2020, of course. And I think that's something that I'm really thankful we have, because we're in a position now to service a changing landscape. And as customers are demanding more and more access to e-commerce, and it's harder and harder to get in person in a lot of ways. E-commerce is something that I think is going to continue to grow. For us, it's been about how do we continue to improve that platform and have it be not only fast, but reliable and with quality information on there, right? Whether it's accurate pictures, making sure that we can input as much data as possible that allows our customers to get the information and the buying criteria that they need. So I'm happy with where we've come, and I'm excited about where we're trying to take that as well.
There's so much data. It's just, it's hard. And it's not a fault of anybody. I don't blame anybody for the fact that there's so much, but the reality is I think the customer is just demanding that much data that it's really hard to stay on top of it. Are you kind of playing the role then of just sort of filling in some of the blanks at these stages? Are you feeling like your customers are satisfied? Where are you at in terms of just all that product information that's out there?
Yeah, I mean, as an electrical distributor, there is no shortage of data to input into a thing like that.
Right.
So we've come a long ways, but I think there's always ways to improve, and especially when you're talking about e-commerce. I mean, that is a platform that continually evolves. I mean, if you look at where we've come in the past 2 to 5 years to where we've come, arguably even in the last 6 months, it's been exponential growth. And I think that is going to continue. So that's a long-winded way, Scott, of saying I'm really happy of where we are today, but I think there's a lot of things that we still want to do with that platform. And I know we have a lot of people and resources devoted to continuing to improve it.
And I'm not going to over push you on this, and I'm not going to hold you to your answer, but you make a great point that we have come a long way in the last 2 to 5 years. And it just makes me wonder, again, you're a younger guy, much younger than me. Where are we, initially I kind of had this, where are we in 2030? When it was 2020, it's that watershed year. It's like, okay, it's 2020 and 10 years from now it's 2030. How are things going to be? And I started thinking about that. And then a lot of the things that I was thinking about, we had to do, like you said, in about a 6 or 7 month period. So, kind of where do you think we are 9.5 years from now when it really is 2030? I mean, what kind of changes, what kind of things do you expect to see happening? Again, because let's face it, you're in a leadership role now. You're going to be in a senior leadership role 10 years from now, the way things are going. So where do you see us, as we approach the next decade?
Yeah, good question. And the good news is I have my crystal ball right here, Scott.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me just grab that here.
You just figure it all out right now. Just listen to these next 2 minutes because you're going to get it all right now. No,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's I think that's something that we all know. The future is going to look a little different. It always does, right? I don't care what time period you're looking at. For me, I think the way we sell is going to be a little different than the ways we've done it. There's going to be an increased e-business. There's going to be increased virtual communication. There's going to be more of that than probably we've ever faced in this industry. I also think at its core, a lot of what we do today is going to be the same in terms of trying to figure out how we can add real, true value for our customers, and that's ultimately at the end of the day what we're all striving for. And the thing that I'm excited about, Scott, is that we have, as an industry, a ton of extremely smart, passionate people that are working on how we continue to push that line forward. Graybar is no exception to that. So overall, I'm very excited for what the future is going to look like. Whether you're talking 2021 or 2030, I think there's going to be a lot of continued creative ways of solving challenging problems. So I'm very excited for what's going to come out of it. And, we'll all be along for the ride together.
No doubt. Well, what's going to come out of it is, again, this next generation, you laugh because I'm old. You wait till the generation comes behind you, Alex. It's going to happen one day. But so, and it's not all about winning awards. I mean, it's great to have a 30 under 35 award. I'm not trying to say that it's not, again, because we put a lot of stock in that. But for those, again, the younger folks who are just getting started, guys who are maybe 1 or 2 years or even less, into this industry, what can you tell them? What kind of career advice can you offer to them to say, this is what you're going to need to not just keep moving forward, but to be successful as you're moving forward and to build this supply chain for 2030? What advice do you have for those people?
Yeah, Yeah, great question, Scott. For me, it sounds pretty simplistic, but have some passion. Have some passion for whatever you want to do in life, and I think that takes you far. The other thing is don't be afraid to take some chances. This whole industry, and again, Gray Bar is no exception, has a multitude of options available for whatever path people want to go down. But you have to raise your hand and you have to try, right? You have to get exposure and take some chances for things that you're interested and passionate about. And for people that are willing to do that and want to do that, this industry can be a blast. So, for those type of people, my advice is hold on tight, right? Because it can be a really fun ride.
And you do stuff outside of, again, your nomination form. You do stuff outside of, Gray, which is great. Getting those well-rounded people. You do some stuff with at-risk youth, right? Yep. And some hospice services stuff. I mean, give me an idea of, again, how that rounds into, again, just a better person in general and a better person that you want to work next to and with all the time.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you summed it up really well, Scott, right? Just be trying to be well-rounded. And again, to put a bow on what we just talked about, have some passion. Have some passion in helping other people. So for me, I've volunteered for a number of years with a hospice organization. I've also just got in over the last couple of years helping some at-risk youth, me. And again, one of the things that I align really well with is that's a Gray Bar overall philosophy as well. We spend a lot of time trying to support giving back to the communities that we live in, whether it's volunteer hours for employees, supporting numerous different charitable foundations and endeavors. That's something that's important to me, but we want to be important to our overall culture. So those are things that I've been a part of. And again, I think that when you get a chance to see those types of things, it doesn't just make you better at what you do for your career. It makes you just a better person, whether that's a husband, a father, a friend, go down the list.
And a father to 3 small children, all under the age of 6, correct?
Yep, all under the age of 6, 3 of them, exactly.
Team effort in the house to try and keep everything organized, I can only assume, right?
Oh, my wife, Liz, she wins the award for that one, Scott. She is definitely the backbone of our home life.
Well, thank you, Liz. We appreciate it. And we appreciate, the fact that you came on the podcast for us. I have your, here it is right here. There you are, right over here.
Right.
See it right there. I got my hand on you right there. Yeah, there you are. So make sure you pick up the magazine. Make sure that you can read it. We have a digital edition also. You can go online to tegmag.com. You can read it. Now I'm going to try and say thanks without botching the name. You ready?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Scott.
Alex Piwoschuk. Did I get it right?
You nailed it. That's perfect.
I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I want to thanks for kind of feeding us this information and guiding us forward. The rules for the 30 under 35s are you got to keep in touch with me. So whether you're going to offer me up some blog posts or we're going to get you some interview, we're going to do some interviews for stories we're writing. You got to keep in touch with us. Is that all right?
I'm happy to help, Scott, and thanks for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you. Congratulations again. We'll talk soon. All right, great conversation with Alex. We're going to do more podcasts with more of our 30 under 35. We're going to get some great insight with them. It's a great group of people. I had the chance to talk to a lot of them, before I started recording podcasts. It was great to get a chance to meet them. So I think you're going to enjoy those. If you have questions about this podcast, if you have questions about anything that TED Magazine is doing, the magazines, the special issues now that we're doing twice a month, if you want to talk to us about tedmag.com or Lighted or our e-newsletters, 2 ways you can get in touch with me. Just look at the bottom of the screen right here. You can email me, scosta, SCOSTA at NAAD.org. Give me a phone call, area code 314-812-5311. Get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to you. No problem. In fact, if you want, we'd even talk about the Market Data Program. The Market Data Program is a service for electrical distributors where they submit confidential, anonymous monthly point of sales data. Users are then able to see market values by region, product, or customer type. Users are only able to see the aggregated market data when there is enough data flowing into the system to maintain anonymity. The Market Data Program recently began displaying its first state data for Illinois, North Carolina, and Virginia, and more data is expected soon. As more distributors are submitting their data, you can check them out. NAED.org/market-data to find out more about the Market Data Program. Thanks, everybody, for listening and for watching the Distributed with TED Magazine podcast.